Hello guys, Arkunj here, and today I'm going to go over some tanks for Rated Battlegrounds in patch 5.3. And now in 5.3, first of all, the changes to tanks came that if you're in a tanking spec, then you take 50% more damage on the flag instantly, and if you're in a DPS or healer spec, you take 20% damage instead. So there's a lot more options open for flag carriers now, and I'm going to go over a few right now. First of all, many people will be telling you that all the tanks are now useless as flag carriers. They're not. Warriors are still pretty good flag carriers. They have pretty good mobility if they're played right, and they've got defensive cooldowns to keep them alive. They do take 50% more damage, which is 30% more damage than the DPS do, but they're still pretty viable. The only problem with Warriors is in other BGs they're not so useful as, say, if you had an extra Warlock on your team or something like that. Almost Warriors tend to get blown up quickly when they charge in, because unlike DKs they don't have anti-magic shell or anything really strong like that. But Warriors are useful in matches such as Arathi Basin, where they can just hold up at Blacksmith and protect flags and Gilneas, but there's some where they're not so good, for example Silver Shard Mines and Kotmogu. As for Druids, the Guardian Druid really isn't very useful anymore because of the 50% damage debuff. They still have their super speed, but if they get caught they're bound to die because the defensives aren't so strong compared to Warriors. However, Feral Druids are still very strong. They get the speed that the Guardian Druids get, and they only get 20% of the debuff, and so they're a pretty good choice. But Resto Druids are also a very good choice now as well, because they can still be very fast, they can heal themselves, they've got very good defensive cooldowns, and they've got pretty good mobility. So Resto Druids could also be used, but they're preferably used in a 4 healer comp, but can also be used in 3 healer as well. Now, I've seen quite a few rogue flag carriers lately, but I wouldn't recommend them because rogues can't stealth, which means they can't vanish while they've got the flag, and that's one of their major strong points. However, rogues are pretty fast. They can get a permanent speed glyph, I believe it is, and they got quite a few speed ups, and they have things like Shadow Step and such to help with mobility, and they have okay defensive cooldowns. The problem with the rogues are, once they pick up the flag, if the enemy team has a rogue, the chances are the enemy team's going to leave that rogue in the flag room. So as soon as the rogue picks up the flag, they're going to get blown up by the other rogue, and they will get blown up, maybe even one shot. So you'll need a healer with them at all times. But they are quite fast to kite around in the base for a while to buy you some time. But I wouldn't recommend rogues personally because you want them attacking rather than carrying flags. And now this is what we tend to use as a flag carrier and monk. You want to be going Mistweaver monk, but Windwalker's also possible, of course. Mistweaver's best with 4 healers, but can be used with 3 healers, much like the rest of Druid. The Mistweaver monk has a huge absorb shield, a lot of heals, and incredibly overpowered mobility, and that makes them quite a nice flag carrier, only taking 20% damage, remember, compared to the tanks 50%. They almost act like tanks. Their healing is pretty incredible from the back as well, so they can stay in the team fights with the flag away from the enemy team, although they can get bursted down quickly by a lot of people with CC and such, but their mobility is very good. If they get away, then it's going to be very hard to catch them, especially if the rest of the team's chasing you down, so I'd recommend monk very much. Now, I'm sure when I release this video, everyone's going to be telling me, well, not everyone, a lot of people are going to be telling me, obviously, Demonology Warlocks are the best tanks, and no, they're not. There is a glyph for Warlocks called Demon Hunting. It gives you an ability called Dark Apotheosis, which reduces all damage pretty much taken by, I think, about 15%, and you get a shitload of armor from it. I don't know the exact details, sorry. But this glyph makes you a tank as a Warlock, according to RBGs, and will give you the 50% damage increase just like tanks do, so you pretty much make you a tank. If it was 20%, then yes, Demonology Warlocks would be the ultimate tank in RBGs, but at the moment they are not, because of that 50%. They are not very good at all. They will be bursted down very quickly. They'll need a healer with them for sure because of this 50%. That doesn't mean they're still not unusable. They are quite good. Their absorbers are incredible, and their self-healing is also quite incredible. They can survive for a long time, and of course they have their portals to jump around with. But Warlocks aren't as good as everyone says they were. Blizzard saw this pre-patch when everyone was going, oh, Warlock's going to be so overpowered, and have changed this. Quite a good change by Blizzard to before the patch, actually, so just take this warning into consideration. So all these have been my favourite looking flag carriers for this patch, but I'm sure there are ones other people use, so if you'd like to leave your comments below on what you use and why, then that would be great, and it would help anyone else watching this video. Other classes aren't really as good in my opinion. Things like Hunters and Death Knights can be burst down easily, and the same goes for, say, like a Resto Shaman. They don't have much at all to defend against a full-on nuke. Priests the same, so I'd probably use one of these healers, tanks even, I've mentioned above. Any other ideas, like I said, please leave it below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you soon.